Okay, so we are returning back to open session. Second thing on our agenda is to meet with Catherine Canny, I'm sorry, from Plymouth County.
And actually, Treasurer O'Brien here is joining me tonight for the presentation.
Hey, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Wonderful. Yes, please, thank you.
Sorry we were late. We
Oh,
had a
don't
couple of
worry.
Things that we had to go over, sorry.
Thank you.
We sat here admiring your lovely new police
Isn't it
station.
nice?
It is fantastic.
Fantastic is a good word, yep.
You folks must be thrilled. Well, thank you so much for having us in to talk about the Plymouth County OPEB Trust, PCOT, and some of the success. We have a quick little report, but I'll offer a few highlights and then we'll answer any questions that you guys have. I was thinking on my drive over here, for those of you who don't know me, Tom O'Brien, I'm the Plymouth County Treasurer. In another life, I actually was a state representative, and I served for 10 years up in the Massachusetts House of Representatives, as one or two of you may know. And I was thinking, boy, Lakeville has done a number of wonderful things over the last few years. But I would have to suggest that in the top 5 was making the decision back in 2017 to join PCOT. Because it has proven to be a success beyond our wildest dreams and has played out very well for the town of Lakeville, and we'll go over some of those highlights. As you'll recall, there are a lot of options in the OPEB space. You folks met with us and met with the team and interviewed a number of different options and looked at various directions that you could head, and we were thrilled when you decided to join PCOT in 2017. Let me just report globally that PCOT continues to grow beyond our expectations. When we created PCOT on January 15, 2015, 1/15/15, we expected maybe by this time we'd have 10 members. We'd probably have maybe $10 million in assets under management. But as we sit here today, we have 28 member units and we have more than $24 million in assets under management. And our performance has been some of the best, not just in New England, not just in the Northeast, not just in the Eastern United States, but across the country. And you folks have reaped the benefit of that, of those good decisions that you made a couple of years ago. So if we can just go to the highlight of the materials that Kate was good enough to hand out. And I apologize if you don't already know Kate Canny to my left. She is our representative from PARS, Public Agency Retirement Services. One of the advantages of PCOT is that not only do you get the investment advice from U.S. Bank, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you get the service that PARS brings to the table as well. They are a nationally known group and organization. They are the largest administrator of OPEB trust in the country, and they're here at your request and your service because you belong to PCOT. So in addition to getting the economies of scale that you get joining 27 other member units, the investment advice we get from U.S. Bank, you get administrative service from Public Agency Retirement Services. So they handle all that for you. Some towns are still, although I think this trend will change, still trying to do this on their own and are finding they have legal costs, they have administrative costs, they have investment costs, management costs. All of those are taken care of in your investment portfolio. So if we just turn to page 1, a quick introduction of us. You already know most of this because you joined a number of years ago, but we are one of the fastest growing programs in New England. We are completely GASB 45 and 75 compliant. PARS was the first to develop this OPEB trust program, and they actually presented me as the county treasurer, and we created the first multi-employer OPEB trust in Massachusetts back in 2015, which you folks were able to join in 2017. We have a full service approach. I touched on that a little bit because you have PARS on the administrative side, you have U.S. Bank on the financial side, so you get all of those advantages at the lowest fee possible. Our client list is on the page there. Those are the other folks here with you. I highlight Weymouth only because it's a large community, and it was fascinating to me what Weymouth did as they decided to join the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. They actually have a pretty large finance department, might be a little larger than Lakeville's. They have 4 or 5 people employed in their finance department, and they did a 6-month due diligence review of all of their options and decided after that review to join the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. I'm also pleased to report that the city of Brockton has joined recently and the town of Kingston has joined. So you'll see this group continue to grow. And I expect as OPEB becomes a more commonplace feature of a budget in a community, more and more people that are, more and more members in Plymouth County, Barnstable County, Bristol County, and Norfolk County will gravitate toward the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. On the next page, we just highlight the team. Plymouth County serves as the sponsor. PARS, I've already introduced Kate, provides the administrative and consulting services there. And then U.S. Bank provides the investment management and investment services as well. It's a team that is at your disposal. And I mention that because I don't know if you folks have been following the market over the last 2 days. There's a volatile market because of the coronavirus and some concern there. And just this morning, the team at U.S. Bank sent me a update and a report with, it's okay, I'd like to share with you, and actually maybe ask Kate if she could go up and give you a copy of it. But this is the type of information we get at our fingertips because U.S. Bank is our custodian. U.S. Bank is the largest manager of OPEB trust monies and resources in the country. They like to say they're the biggest bank you've never heard of. They don't have brick and mortar branches, but they do these investments and they produce these types of reports on a regular basis. If for some reason you are ever interested in getting these reports, they can be sent to you on a fairly regular basis. Some people were getting so many, they said, stop. We love knowing it's out there, but we don't need to get them on a regular basis. But we like the fact that this level of financial information is available to each of our members whenever they need it. Turning back to your presentation, the PCOT Investment Committee, this helps make us unique on this page 3. Your money is managed by an investment committee that is made up of members in PCOT. So the Plymouth County Treasurer, myself, serves as the chair, but each of these other members is an elected position out of the membership. I will point out, Kate asked me to mention, that 2 of our board members are going to be leaving, and so there are positions open. The position for the treasurer and plan administrator is an open position. There'll be ballots going around in the May-June timeframe. So if someone from the town of, the treasurer or plan administrator from Lakeville is interested in serving on our investment committee, that position will be open. And then the governing board member, the selectman's position is open. So if either of you have a overriding interest or desire, you could step in and serve. Ron Clark from Carver has been the representative. But I hope it gives you a certain level of comfort knowing that a fellow selectman who knows the challenges you folks face, the different day-to-day issues that you deal with, is on the investment committee and making these decisions in the best interest of our member units. That finance committee meets 4 times a year. It reviews the investment portfolio and its different asset allocations. The next page is just a summary of your success. You guys joined in April of 2017 with a contribution of $437,504 to be exact. You've added in another $880,000. Fantastic. Your total contributions have been over a little over $1.3 million. But you can see that your investment earnings over that relatively short period of time have been $261,555. Again, done with low fees. We have the lowest fees out there because we're a governmental operation. And in fact, Kate is insisting that we highlight that that is done with a $5,225 expense over that same period of time. So if you divide that monthly, you'll realize what a deal and a bargain you're getting with the Plymouth County OPEB Trust. It really is remarkable. And then just our contact information, we always want you to know we're available at a pickup of a phone or a short email or a text. I would recommend you email Kate. She's much more adept at following her email and making these assignments, and in fact was texting me regularly over the weekend to make sure I was here today, which of course I'm thrilled to be. And then we just have a quick summary report after that from the 3rd quarter, just our fun fact sheet, but more importantly, that's a 3rd quarter number as well. Yeah, so I brought with me, and Kate, if you don't mind, something a little more up to date, because the Finance Committee hasn't met to do the December numbers. That isn't in that report yet. But this is just a little summary for you that was sent to the members and sent to me and I think is instructive. This is the total portfolio, and you can see, as I reported, we have over $24 million in assets under management. Lakeville, of course, has their share of that, their $1.573 million. But what I want to highlight, if you look across the top and look at year-to-date performance, you'll see that we've returned 22.70% after fees, net of fees. That's pretty remarkable. I know it's one of the best in the country, and Lakeville is getting the advantage of that. I would also show that we report gross of fees, so you can see that your total fees in for that one-year period were 26 basis points. Most of the industry is paying anywhere between 50 and 75 basis points. You're paying half that for much better performance. If you look over at the 3-year number, you'll see that, and this is an annualized number, so each year we've returned more than 12% net of fees. Now, please understand, we are not always going to do that. We have had some very successful years. We've been thrilled to be able to do this, but I remind the selectmen and anybody that may be listening or watching that we are investing for the long term. We're not investing for tomorrow. We're not investing for a week from now. We're not investing for the next year. We're not investing for the next 5 years. We're investing for the next 20, 30, 40, and 50 years. So you folks are ahead of the curve. The town of Lakeville should be commended. I'm sure the residents all shower you with praise and accolades for being ahead of some of your neighboring communities and doing the right thing. But you have done it well. You've chosen a good team to partner with, and we're just here to report the success that we've had and the continuing partnership that we look forward to with the town of Lakeville. As I say, we'll hit some rocky times. I know those are coming, but rest assured your team is watching and paying attention. We expect over the long period of time to return between 7 and 8%. Outperforming, again, many of our peers in the industry with the lowest fees. So we think we're delivering exactly what you want. Excellent performance, low fees, with resources available at your disposal. So, Kate, was there anything that you wanted to add to that quick presentation?
Just highlight that we have a dedicated portfolio manager at US Bank. His name's Dennis Mullins. And if you ever had questions that you wanted forwarded to Dennis, you can kind of connect with Deborah, your treasurer, and or me, and we can get those questions answered pretty quickly. If you have any concerns, I mean, there's a lot going on. We're in a 24-hour-a-day news cycle, so sometimes those can prompt questions, but we're always available.
And just his information is on page
Yep,
5 of the
exactly,
handout.
yes.
If you needed his contact information. He's very responsive. I'm impressed because he's very knowledgeable. He has decades of experience in the industry. And whenever I call, if he can't pick it up, he's returning my call within 12 hours and answering whatever questions. He tells me that's because we have $24 million in assets under management, but he was doing that even when we only had $500,000 in assets under management. So very responsive. Do you folks have any questions? We could talk about OPEB if you wanted to do that more at length. Anything about PCOT? We wanted to make sure to have time in your tight agenda to answer anything you may have in your mind or thought that
I just have
lost.
a couple of probably quick, easy questions.
We like those.
We have 81 active people, approximately, I would say approximately, and the retirees are 133 for a total of 214 that are in, we'll call it in the program. And we have people like other towns do where someone comes to work, they work 5 years, they come, and they go on to another job. They don't get, if you will, possibly invested in being in town for 10 years and things like that. What's the effect of those people? So the active people come and go. Mm-hmm. So if someone works here for 5 years and they go, do we have any liability on payment for medical in years moving forward? Just generally.
So the short answer is no if it's only 5 years. It depends on how long it would be until they vest.
Right, so if
most
10
towns have a
10 years,
10-year
if 10
vesting
years was a
requirement.
magic year, so if they continually turn over, then there's no liability to us. Now, we also went to a 50-50 medical payment. There's a number of people that have opted out. That is, we pay them a significant amount of money not to take the health benefits.
Okay.
So some of the new employees, maybe, I'll give you a number, probably 40% of them have technically opted out or not taking the insurance. So they're kind of in that active group, because the active group doesn't change. We're not going from 81 to 101. So if they opt out and you do a lot of math on the 81, does that change dramatically? Because out of the 81, do they have to be in the program? Are there 10 people that aren't in the program? How do you monitor that?
So, so this is part of when you see your actual, your GASB valuation, your auditor does this. There, you have what your unfunded liability that you're thinking about that, and that's a calculation based on your active retirees that are participating and your active employees. So that number is calculated, but if, it's just a kind of like looking and assuming those 130 are gonna work to retiree healthcare age. But if they're leaving at 5 years and before 10 years of vesting, that rolls off that number, which to the town's benefit lowers your ultimate liability. And if you have retirees who've opted out, so you have retirees that don't collect, that also lowers your ultimate liability.
The new employees.
The new employees,
The
the
new
new, okay,
employees
no, the new employees,
would
so
be
that'll be,
opting out.
so I would say that the important thing to do is to highlight to your actuary and your auditor when they're calculating your unfunded liability, that you have employees, if you have 40% that have opted out, so that they're always calculating that into your OPEB valuation for your unfunded liabilities, so that that shows up.
Can I just
Right,
ask a
I
quick
didn't see
question?
any separate reports for
Yeah.
that.
When they
that's all.
opt out, are they opting out permanently, or are they opting out on an annual
It's
basis?
kind of on a, we'll call it on an annual basis.
So the
To make
challenge-
it simple, they can come back, but we'll just have to get the statistics. It's new to us.
Right,
It's only
yeah.
been around a couple of years, but I looked at the last 8 employees that we did, and
So
pleasant surprise was they had opted out.
So I think that
They can come back.
some questions to ask is, for those years that they've opted out, are they still getting times for credit service times? So have they opted out for those 4 years, but they're still, but I've been an employee for 10? So I think those are important questions to kind of look at in
And
the
who do we
contractual
look at
agreement.
that with?
Yeah.
Your actuary.
Your actuary.
Okay.
I will say this, I know towns are, they're always looking, rightfully so, at cost-saving measures, but you definitely want to have that conversation, because I don't believe the employee is giving up any creditable service by opting out
Right,
of the
probably.
health insurance. And
Right.
all of them would be eligible to come back into the health insurance
Yeah.
on an annual basis. I'm pretty sure there are some federal laws and guidelines that would say you have to offer that if they choose to come back.
Right.
Right, no, and we allow them.
Sure, and so your actuary is gonna assume, has to, worst case scenario, that they come back, and so they're not gonna take them off until such time as they see that they're not on.
Right, I was pleasantly surprised at the number that had not taken the insurance.
Right, on an annual basis.
We pay them a lot of money
Not
not
to.
to take
Yeah.
it.
Sure.
That was more my question, and if it had to do with questions, whether they should be on Medicare, whether they should be on town rolls, if you will, where does that question get asked and answered?
So I'm
Who does
fairly
that?
certain, and I should know this, that you guys are part of the Mayflower Municipal Health Group?
Gateway?
We're all gonna say we don't know. I don't
Gateway?
know. I don't.
No, oh, so you're in Gateway, okay, so I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
But your health insurance group should be the group that provides you the answer to those questions.
Okay. Okay.
If you were part of Mayflower, I'm the treasurer for Mayflower, and I could answer those questions for you, but where you're not, I can't.
Give us a fictitious answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
Is it, we had somewhat gave a hypothetical amount that we would put into the fund in addition annually, but certainly nothing in writing. Does it make a difference? It's really just up to the towns?
I mean, obviously, the more you put in.
Yeah, yeah. But
You're
you don't
lowering-
look at it any different.
And it's not really what we think of.
Right.
Our job is to take your money, grow it as
Investment.
best and as fast as we can, make good investment decisions.
Yeah.
Where you'll see that impact, and those conversations need to be with your actuary and your auditor.
And the auditor did say that if we do make a specific contribution, as in a percentage or a specific amount
Amount,
every
right,
year, that it
right.
does count in our favor.
Right.
The other thing you may consider doing, and I don't know if the board has done this, and a number of communities are looking at this, when your pension obligation is complete, and we can talk about that, you dedicate those pension payments to your OPEB trust. That will also have a positive impact in reducing your liability. So if the Board of Selectmen were to take that vote, you would see that reflect with your actuary and on your audit report, and it would reduce that liability. Now, I can tell you, because I'm the treasurer of the Plymouth County Retirement Association, and I know you're a member of that we are to be fully funded in 2029. That's right around the horizon. By the way, I'll point out, the state isn't going to be fully funded until 2036. So we're 7 years ahead of the state.
Right.
But you may want to consider, because that will reduce your pension obligations significantly, in dedicating that money, no additional cost, but that money over to the OPEB obligation. That has a really positive impact on your report. It's just something to think about.
I was somewhat surprised with the state numbers, that they have 41 billion in unfunded liabilities. And so I was wishful thinking, saying, well, maybe they'll come up with a plan. Well, their plan is they can't do their own obligations. Who figured they had 315,000 employees in the state?
Yeah, their plan is to kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We're a little more diligent perhaps on that front. I was shocked too. I saw, that.
I was astounded.
Yeah,
They
the
owe
report that came
they
out.
owe 96 billion, but 41 billion of unfunded. I mean, the towns, I don't care if you're in Fall River, they have 225 million unfunded liabilities. Okay.
So Lakeville's in much better shape. Is that any
We
consolation?
we got a ways to go. So
We do.
we owe
We
10
do.
million or whatever, plus or minus.
So one of the services we provide as the administrator at PARS, because we have clients in 12 states, and we work with different types of agencies, is we could come in and work with you to develop funding policy ideas, funding plans. You have your investment policy, which is established by PCOT, but oftentimes just sitting down and talking about what's going on in the town, we may be able to help develop a plan with you of identifying percentages or amounts or one-time fees or future budget items, and we're happy to sit down and work with that, show you what other agencies are doing, and show you some examples. Because every agency who's addressing OPEB does have the real challenge of, I have a trust, where am I getting a hold of the assets? What am I, how am I accessing these funds? So we're happy to work with you on that.
The only other thing I'll add too is try and keep that payment the same each year.
Yeah.
And not go down. So if, creating a number of 50,000, you're contributing that every year, and you say 1 year, let's bump it up to 200,000, all well and good, but then I wouldn't go back down to 75. So maybe instead of bumping it from 50 to 200, you bump it from 50 to 100, keep it level there for a bit, 150. You don't want to see a backward trend in your contribution to OPEB.
Right, we had somewhat minimally agreed, the previous selectmen, to 315,000 a year.
I will tell you, Lakeville has a lot to be proud of when it comes to OPEB. You are ahead of many of your peers, certainly ahead of most like-sized communities in what you're doing. So keep it up is basically what I would suggest.
We specifically in our financial policy did not put in a percentage to award, or did we put in the 315? We purposely left that off because who knows in an operational schedule what you can or can't do. But I certainly agree on the consistency. Hopefully we can maintain that level or exceed it.
That's what your actuary and your auditors are looking for.
Yeah,
They're the ones you have to keep happy.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
Okay.
All set.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
for
it.
coming.
Of course.
Again, apologize for running
Oh,
over
no,
and
don't worry.
making
You know,
you wait.
we do this every year, so if you want us to come back, 6 months or a year from now, happy
Okay.
to do it.
We'll have you come back if it's a $230,000 investment increase.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item number 3, meet with Fire Chief O'Brien to review ambulance rates.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be on the agenda. Basically, I'm before you tonight asking for an adjustment to our ambulance rates. This request was initiated by ComStar. Each year, Medicare makes an adjustment on what are allowable rates, and the rest of the industry kind of takes their lead off that adjustment. And ComStar is basically surveyed our comparables, their other clients, and they've come up with a recommended rate. And what I'm requesting is that you approve or authorize me to change the rates to that recommended rate. Based on our run numbers, I'm guesstimating that it may provide an additional $20,000 in ambulance revenue for the town.
We historically have, Madam Chairman, we historically have increased it to the maximum allowable, and it doesn't necessarily get you all that money, but in certain situations, using car accidents as an example, you get generally the full increase. You might have a bigger delta difference between the bill and the payment, but it generally works in your favor.
I know we've talked a little bit about this, and I know that you seem to be very happy with, what they're doing for us and everything too, so this is also a suggestion coming from them, so I would see no reason why we wouldn't want to do this. Rich, anything to?
No, this is fine.
Okay, so I
I'll make a
guess
motion to approve the new rates.
I'll second that.
all those in favor of approving the new ambulance rates presented to us by the chief? Aye?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate your help.
So, number 4, Board of Selectmen announcements. I can do this, unless you want to do it, Rich.
Go for it.
So, Board of Selectmen announcements for today. There will be at the Senior Center a Valentine's Day party and music bingo on February 11th, 12 o'clock p.m. Reservations are required by February 4th. I would assume we call the COA, right? Yes. Okay. On February 13th, from 11 to 12, the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation and the Better Business Bureau will hold a presentation on how to spot and avoid scams, robocalls, and how to prevent identity theft and what to do if this happens to you. I really think that's an important thing for anybody out there who, is trying to help the seniors in their lives. Again, that was on February 13th. And the selectmen will hold office hours at the senior center on February 14th from 9 to 10 a.m. And I thought Maureen said, John, you were gonna?
Yeah, I'm usually there anyway.
John will be there. Other miscellaneous announcements. The Lakeville Animal Shelter has received 57 donations since August 1st, totaling $7,731.55. And we would really like to just thank everyone for their generous donations. I can just speak for myself on this, but the animal shelter and the really good work that Dave Freites and the other ACOs do there is really near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. The next announcement is the last day to obtain papers at the town's clerk office to run for a position in the annual town election is February 13th, 2020, and the deadline to return them is February 18th, 2020. The list of positions available is on the town's website, and that would be for the election in April 6th. Is that the date for the election? The deadline to register to vote in the presidential primary on March 3rd is February 12th. So, registering to vote is easier than ever. You can visit the town clerk's office to register in person or get a mail-in voter registration form, or you may register online at www.registertovotema.com. It's always nice to get people to, especially the young folk. Also, if you will not be in Lakeville on March 3rd, between the hours of 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., you can visit the town clerk's office to pick up an absentee ballot for the presidential primary election. So, good things to keep in mind there for your absentee ballot.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Couple of things.
Yep,
Just to remind everybody, there's a blood drive this Thursday at the library from 1 to 6. There really is a shortage of blood, so if you are able to donate, please do so. And the third quarter tax bills are due on February 1st.
okay. The blood drive was this Thursday, correct?
Correct.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
The tax bills are actually due February 3rd, because the
Oh.
first is a Saturday.
Okay,
Close enough.
close enough. They're due the
They're
beginning
due.
of February.
Thank you.
All right. Next agenda item is our public input session. Does anyone have anything they would like to contribute, offer to the selectmen? Okay,
Madam Chair?
yes?
Item number 14 is the 100th birthday proclamation for Sadie V. Gladu. Her two daughters are in the audience, so perhaps it could get moved up so they don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Sure, we can do that.
Thank you.
So, agenda item number 14. Sadie V. Gladu, a Lakeville resident, is turning 100 years old on February 7th, 2020. That's pretty nice. So we are, we have the proclamation, which, unless anyone else wants to read, I'll read, I guess. So, Town of Lakeville, Massachusetts proclamation, whereas Sadie V. Gladu is a citizen of Lakeville, and whereas Sadie V., is it Gladu or Gladu? Gladu. Was born on February 7th, 1920 in Griston, Norfolk, England, and whereas Sadie V. Gladu served in the Navy, Army, and Air Force Institute during World War II. She met her husband, Francis Gladu, while he was serving in the mighty 8th Air Force of the Army Corps in England, and was married to him for 54 years until his death in 1999. And whereas Sadie came to the United States in 1946 and moved to Lakeville with her family in 1947, where she raised 5 children. She has always loved living in Lakeville and has placed a conservation restriction on her property to protect it as open space for the future. And whereas, due to her civic pride and patriotic spirit, she would never miss Lakeville's Memorial Day and Veterans Day celebrations. Now therefore, be it resolved that the selectmen in the town of Lakeville, Massachusetts do hereby proclaim February 7th, 2020 as Sadie V. Gladu Day in honor of Sadie V. Gladu reaching the distinguished age of 100 years. The selectmen do hereby request that all citizens congratulate Sadie for her achievement. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen and the citizens of the town of Lakeville, this resolution is signed, sealed, and delivered on this 27th day of January in the year 2020 by the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. Do we have to sign it?
Yeah, yeah. Here.
I do need to take it back to the office to copy, so Joan will pick it up tomorrow.
Okay, so we can sign it later. Do you want to see it before we sign it?
Thank you so much. So she'll be thrilled to put it all. And she loves Lakeville.
Yeah, that's great. That's nice to hear. It's quite the milestone.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thank you for your service.
yeah.
Do we have a motion and a second to claim?
I will entertain. So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor of the February 7th, 2020 to be Sadie V. Gladu Day?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You should be thrilled to find out.
Yeah. Are you gonna save it for her birthday?
We
Or will
are,
she
we
watch
are,
us,
we
huh?
are. We are.
Okay, that's great. So Tracy will have that after tomorrow, right?
Come see me, Joan.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Next up, we have Town Administrator Maureen Candido's report.
Thank you. As of now, all budgets and capital plans have been submitted for all the departments, with the exception of one department that needed additional clarification on some of the lines. We met with the regional FinCom on the boiler project and their budget. Their tentative budget submission to the town should be February 6th, and then a firmed-up submission by the 18th of March. Demolition's begun in the Selectmen's suite of offices. So anyone going in there will notice that we have high ceilings all throughout that floor now. We tried to get some quotes to remove the big safes. Nothing's come back favorably yet, but
Okay.
we're still plugging along. We signed the paperwork to start the disbursement of the shared grant with Freetown, so we should be receiving that within about 45 days. And Nate and Lorraine are finishing up Green Communities grant work for the last round of grants, so we can be eligible for the next round of grants coming up in March. We also met with Mass DOT on the Route 79 project. I'm sorry, on the light project, on the street light project. It isn't something that's going to be on their tip in the next 2 to 3 years. And we're going to have to find some additional ways of pushing that project forward.
Okay. All right. So, our next agenda item, number 7, is about the information night that we were trying to get together about the Route 79 project. And that was gonna be on February 8th, correct?
Correct.
But Beta, which is our overseeing engineer
Yep,
folks,
they cannot make it.
they cannot make it that day, so I don't know what the rest of the board may want to do about that. Anyone?
Well, I think we need additional information. I had asked Maureen to call Beta to break out the $2.3 million, supposedly our share, of the project, and they gave us a list of, I don't know, 5 or 6 items, but they didn't put any dollar amounts associated with that, so we haven't gotten that yet.
And to further that, we have, I think it's Giroux, Claude and Bernard Giroux. I'm looking for that file, it's not where it was. Those should have some of those breakdowns on the land takings, et cetera, but everything to make up that is an estimate. It all depends who is going to donate the land, how much land will be taken, and at the 75% design mark, which could be slightly different than the 25 that we were talking about before. Hi, Rich. Yeah,
No,
so,
but the question is, what were those estimates broken out by
Yeah.
each one of those categories? Because, if it's, easements or whatever is 500,000, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we need to understand
Yep.
what that breakout is, so, because we may want to look at that and decide whether, are those numbers right or not.
yeah, and
And
again,
we'll-
what we were
Right.
working on with just
The,
estimates and worst-case scenario as far as what the taking would be.
The second question that I have, and maybe John can answer this question, I don't know, is that are we required to pay 100% of the design?
From Beta,
Yeah.
we pay them now on an hourly basis. I mean, they should be giving us bills for work being done, just as they would if it was any project.
We've already paid $320,000,
Right.
okay, to do that design, but the question is, I'm not familiar with their contract and what it says, do we have to pay to finish the 100% of the project?
You would have to pay additional funds, and that was a great debate at the meeting at Mass Department of Transportation, where they did not give us a bill and/or an estimate, other than what I didn't want to happen was that it was a percentage of the project, because the difference between 75 and 25% was not a lot. You know, the roads get a little bit wider, they do a curve, but it's all done in a CAD system. So they have yet to firm up what their estimate is to complete the project, other than it's on an hourly basis, not on a percentage of the contract.
Well, shouldn't we do that too?
Do what?
Get a firm number on what
Oh,
that
yes,
is?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We have to wait till the
Yeah.
hearing. They have to have a hearing to move forward to get the 75%, to get the
Now, how
the
close
number.
are we to that hearing?
So they have to move forward, request the hearing. April, sometime April is where Matt Shute, who is our contact at Beta, had left it to us. Because when the vote didn't pass, everything stopped.
So at this point, we should probably not be trying to book our own information session for our residents to come to, because I don't really think we have a whole lot to tell them.
I don't think we have a whole lot that's different to tell them. We could do a lot better job of telling it than we did. But
Okay.
we could choose to work with Serpent and between ourselves and Serpent, have a presentation without Beta at this presentation. But
Okay.
again, it's not at 75%, it's at 25%. And that's just the way they have their milestones set.
So I'm a little confused then. So we definitely have to pay the engineering fees from 25 to 75%?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we don't know what that is,
We don't know, we don't have a strict dollar amount what that is.
which could be, I don't want to say it's significant, but it could be a significant amount of money.
It could be around $400,000.
400,000 more than we already paid for 320?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And we certainly made that clear at the Department of Transportation meeting, I call it District 5, that was ludicrous, that they were gonna try to do it on a percentage, and the state said they shouldn't be doing that. So you need to firm up a hourly basis to finish it. It isn't the difference between going from 25 to 75, because not a lot changes in that scenario. Just catch basins and things, and like I said, it's on a CAD system. So you wanna have them estimate how many more hours and what their hourly rate is.
I can get an update
Yeah.
from them.
But aren't they working on that right now? The 75% no matter what?
We did tell them to move forward and start looking at that, because we did say that the board wanted to move forward
Move forward.
with that. So that was only last
Move.
week that we had that conversation.
We hadn't decided to move forward with anything, right?
Not in official capacity, but in order for them to even come and speak, that would be moving forward. Like to have them come speak and present, that would have been considered moving forward.
But are they actually doing design work?
No. But they're preparing to get in the hearing.
And so what does that mean?
So I can't break it down in a way that someone was that's actually in Beta could. I don't know what that consists of. I do know that if they want to move forward with a hearing, then they become at the 75% rate, and then they begin working on the project again. But the moving forward that I was talking about was moving forward with the presentation and with all that, because that's billable hours also.
But to
For
your
them.
point, Rich, you would not wanna move forward without an estimate of hours and money as they move forward, that you
Oh, I
approve.
agree.
Yep.
I mean,
Right, right. So it was put on hold when
The vote didn't
the
pass.
vote did not pass.
Yes.
So if you wanna resurrect it, as you've indicated, you wanna get that estimate first.
So then, besides the estimate, one of the questions is that additional, you said 400,000 potentially?
Potentially, yeah.
Is that included in the $2.3 million?
No,
No?
no. The $2.3 million is land taking. That was an estimate given by, I say the Department of Transportation, whatever we call District 5. So that was their estimate, which obviously I thought was out of line, that there were not very significant land takings. But that was their estimate of the dollars, not our estimate. The only way that you get that number is the person that does the land takings begins to hold meetings with the owners of the property that you'd be doing the land takings. So you would not want the project to move forward with Beta until you firmed up how much more you would have to pay to complete the project. And right now, they've stopped at the 300,000 and change number. And you shouldn't resurrect that until you firm up a number. My suggestion.
Yeah.
Does the board have a number?
I think this board member might like to see a whole lot more paperwork on everything.
Yeah.
Contract with Beta and whatever we have.
Okay.
I just feel like all this is we can't do this until we do this, but we can't do that until we do that.
I agree.
And, I mean, that's a really hard thing to explain to the townspeople.
It's a hard sell the way
Right.
that it's structured. I agree 100%. I can get a more synthesized, maybe a smaller checklist of what has to go where in order to go, but I'll pull up a newer contract from Beta because they were saying that if they wanted to meet and have these public meetings, they wanted to redo the contract and all that. So I will go forward and pull that
Yeah.
information
Let's
out.
try to figure
My
out.
suggestion would be is you put it on an hourly basis, you know, how much per hour
Yeah, but then
they
again,
want, so you know what that is and what their estimate is.
yeah, but then again, do we know how many hours it's gonna take them?
Well, they gotta know that.
They should know
Yeah.
that,
They've
for
gotta
sure.
know that.
Okay, so basically, we're probably not going to have this information session on February 8th,
I would have to say no.
So, do we want to aim for a date where we can explain at least what we may know to the townspeople, anyone who's interested? Because, I mean, the only thing I hear about Route 79 is that people have no idea what's going on with Route 79, and clearly, we don't really have a whole lot of concrete facts to give them either, so,
I got a couple more questions. Madam
yep.
Chair. In looking at the two articles that were voted at the town meeting, one was for Route 79 and the other was for additional road work in town, why were they all lumped together and Route 79 not done separately, John?
In my estimation, they should have been done separately, but the reason why they were not is they both unanimously passed at town meeting. Both of them did. The vote, which I looked at the other day, was overwhelmingly to proceed with both projects. So based on that, it was combined. They don't have to be combined. And the soft number is the 2.3 million for land takings was a number estimated by the State Department of Transportation, not by Beta, not by the person that would contact the owners and say, I'm taking 100-foot by 5-foot strip, that type of thing. And we certainly wanted ground rules set by the town working with that person to come up with a more logical approach to it. That is, would people donate their land, that type of thing. So the 2.3 was a state number, not a Beta number, not a town number. It was a state number provided. And they were combined because at the town meeting, they were broken out separately.
At town meeting?
At town meeting, and they overwhelmingly passed. That's why
Right.
they were combined.
But they were overrides, and they should have been done separately, because you should have given the people the option of picking one or the other.
Oh, I don't disagree. I don't
Okay.
disagree with
What, did the board support these projects?
Yes, yes, they supported them at town meeting.
No, but did they support the override too?
would
I guess
say.
that was a mixed bag, but yeah. It was debated and
Yeah, I mean,
passed.
I
It was debated
agree.
and passed.
Right, I agree that I think they should have been put on as two questions and,
Yeah,
Well, would they have passed or not? You don't know, but breaking it out into two questions is fine. Or breaking it out with one, that's fine. It's a new board, they can do as they wish. But it was combined because at town meeting, both of them passed overwhelmingly.
Some of the other questions that I have about the design itself, it goes from the Taunton line at Galphie Road, you know, up to Clear Pond Road. And looking at the road itself, from Galphie Road up to the intersection of Precinct Street and 79, that part of the road is overall in pretty good condition. Whereas on the other side of Clear Pond Road down to Main Street, that section of the road has got a lot of problems. So why was that decision made?
It was a decision made by the Department of Transportation, the Complete Streets program, that once they added sidewalks, I agree with you, and we brought that to their attention, and they would not, once they decided to do sidewalks in a bike lane, which is their Complete Streets program, they said it was more cost-effective, if you can believe it, to dig up from Galphie down. We brought that to their attention. We brought that to their attention in the walkabout.
Yeah, in the walk, we walked the whole, almost the whole thing that
So
day.
I don't disagree. Those questions were asked of the state, and they said, we're doing sidewalks, and we want to rip up the
But
entire
why,
street.
why does it end at Clear Pond Road and doesn't continue all the way down to Main Street?
Down further.
Yeah,
The project
further.
ends at Clear Pond Road.
I don't have that answer. I don't know that answer. That was long.
Well, I don't know.
I don't have that answer,
I
but the
think,
reason why it's not a mill and overlay from Galphie to Precinct Street is they demanded that it be ripped up. The whole project doesn't make any sense to the layman of why not mill and overlay and skip the sidewalk. They wouldn't do it. So if you want to take that on,
I don't want to take out, I just want to know what the facts are,
well,
because
the facts are, when they added sidewalks and bike lanes, they determined that they wanted to rip up the road. We questioned it and said, doesn't make any sense to us, the road looks fine. I'd do a mill and overlay and start the sidewalk from Precinct down, but they wouldn't do it.
but what happens from Clear Pond Road down to?
I don't know that, I never
Yeah, we
was
never,
involved, it always ended at Clear Pond, it was going on for years, I don't know.
Well, the town's already put $320,000 into this thing, okay? And potentially, we got another $400,000 just in design, plus all these questions of what makes up the $2.3 million as far as the, you know, what the override is all about. And I know we're gonna get $9,400,000, you know, in grant money. I just wanna understand, and nobody's giving me any answer, I'm not saying you, John, that what is the $2.3 million? How much is that? What's made up of that $2.3 million? And how much, and besides that, we're gonna pay $400,000 potentially in more engineering and design fees, which is not budgeted and is not in that $2.3 million as I just found out. I don't feel comfortable doing anything right now till we get all these answers answered.
I don't disagree with that.
I know that at
I
one
don't disagree with
point,
any of that.
we had asked them if they could reduce the scope and not do the bike lanes and whatever, and their answer was, no, that's the way that it's.
Correct. The answer was, this is the
Minimum
smallest that we got,
standard.
minimum standards that they would do, minimum design standards that they would do and be involved in. And when they're talking about how the road looks visibly, it was more about the drainage and about the sight lines and about all those things in combination on the road. But they didn't address why it didn't go any further or anything like that. That was never part of any of the
The
discussions.
project was a vague project in its entire existence. And every time it came to another milestone, it was like, we should quit this. And then, when it went from 4 million to 12 million or 10 million, that's when we said, this is nuts. And that went after the project had started, which was back, I could say 12 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't even know when it started, a hell of a long time ago. So those questions were asked as we went along. Not from Clear Pond down, I don't have that
Not that
answer.
question.
That was always the design, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know why it started at Galphie, other than it's the town line. And that was done through Beta, working with the state.
So how do we want to proceed with this? I mean, do we want to find someone at the state that will come and talk to us and tell us what their plan is?
I can find the Mass DOT contacts, it's in
Yeah,
here.
you can
The
do that
the
meeting
emails
again.
back and forth, who the contacts were, if they're still there, and we can find what that 2.3 was made up of for their estimate.
Right.
I seem to remember it was actually 1.9 for the estimate.
Yeah, I thought it was
And-
1.9,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that
and
number
then,
kept,
and then
yeah.
we moved the 2.3 to, for other things, again, can't remember what the other things were at
Yeah,
that
and I mean,
point.
that is a valid question if we go as far as Clear Pond Road, but we
Yeah.
know that there's always been problems with Clear Pond Road and lots of complaints about it. Why doesn't it address,
Yeah.
you know, was that just, they didn't think that that was?
Right, part of it was there were tremendous frost heaves between Route 18 and Clear Pond.
Okay,
That road had been repaired many times, and it seems to be that there's always frost under the ground. And that would be my suspicion as to why it stopped there. But the 2.3, that was a guess off someone's piece of paper at one of the meetings, which astounded everyone.
And then,
On that, the Beta one stopped because we said stop and come up with an hourly number.
So how can we go forward and ask the townspeople to pay $2.3 million if we don't know what they're paying for? I don't know what they're
Well,
paying.
the land take, that's for land takings, and that was outlined. The square footage and where that is outlined on the design plans by Beta Engineering.
so that
After the
means,
state looked at that, they estimated what the land takings would be. The number astounded me that it could be that high.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
And we have listed in our capital plan, 375 for the engineering. That's part of the highway department's capital plan.
that we've already
Nope,
spent? Or
it's
that
a
we
request.
still-
The three-
It's a request.
The
That's the request.
375, no, the 375 is a standard request every year by the highway as additional funds for Chapter 90.
It
a
says
supplement.
Route 79 on
Says
it.
Well, he says that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he does it every year.
No, but it
Okay.
says right in the plan.
It's
what
for-
they're
it says
paying.
He does it,
79 on
right,
the
he does
plan.
it every year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think before we either totally abandon it or put it on a ballot, I think we need to get a lot of questions answered. I mean, I thought Beta was supposed to represent us, you know, our interest in this whole thing. But it sounds like we've spent a ton of money and we still don't have a whole lot of answers, so
Did you go to the meeting at Department of Transportation?
which meeting?
District 5?
Recently?
Well, no, did you ever go there?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, I never. The first thing that happened after I got on the board was the walkthrough,
Right.
which we did,
right.
which.
So you can do it prior to, or the 3 new selectmen can set up that meeting at District 5, and we've attempted many times to do that. So
Yeah, and the last meeting I had, again, was November, I think.
Yeah.
And then we had asked to scale back the design, and they said they will not scale it back any further. It's minimum design standards, which they
Because,
sent
I
us
mean,
the
it
letter in
wasn't, and I
December.
do recall from the day that we did the walkthrough, it wasn't just a matter of, you know, this, that, and the other. We're talking about like moving entire poles from here to there, I mean,
Oh, they were
everyone.
moving like
everything.
100 telephone poles.
Right, it's a
111.
huge scope.
Yeah, 111 telephone poles.
Yeah.
And the number was, make your head spin, whether it's
Yeah.
$15,000 a telephone pole to
Right,
move it, plus
right,
all
to
the
move a pole,
wires.
right,
There was
right.
discussions about why don't you go underground. So those questions you can
Ask.
re-ask at the District 5.
Okay.
And as Rich had said, I think to move forward, what you have is, should have an hourly rate from Beta, which they were asked for. And then you're not gonna get that 2.3, 1.9 to 2.3 number until you start to talk to the owners of the property to see if it's donations and things like that. And meet with that person that's gonna do that and set the guidelines, because there are guidelines
On
for that,
land
about how
takings.
much you should pay per square foot for land takings. The easements and stuff are a different thing. The land takings were not, when I say significant, maybe they were 5,000 square feet. Over, I don't know, 2.5 mile road, something like that. But it continues to be vague.
Right.
Always has been vague.
Well, that's the problem.
Always has been vague.
Right.
How the project grew from $4 million to in excess of a $10 million project.
Okay, well, I guess then our intent to try to have an informational meeting on February 8th is really not gonna happen, so I guess we table trying to get some sort of table indefinitely, trying to get some information out to the people who live in town, because it seems like we don't really
Yeah,
have.
and I'll get as much information as I can for the
If you
Board of
can,
Selectmen.
yeah, work
As
on
far
it.
as that, I have the files and, they're pretty extensive and there's boxes of them, so, I'll cull through and try to find that exact information, but I was looking for it in the wrong place. I was
Yeah.
looking for it through the beta files and not through the Mass DOT. Yep.
Right.
Okay,
I don't think you want to have the meeting without Beta doing the presentation.
no, probably not,
Right.
probably not,
Because they can answer the questions.
Right.
I mean, the plans are there, they need to put them up on the screens and stuff.
yeah. But of course, it's like we have to pay them to finish
Ex-
doing the work, and then pay them to
Absolutely.
do the
And pay
presentation,
them for the
so.
Absolutely.
presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just firm up the hourly rate.
Yeah, okay, so I guess that meeting, that informational meeting's gonna get tabled. So there will be no meeting on February 8th, 2020 to discuss the Route 79 project until we can get more information. Okay, so, at our last meeting, we did determine, agenda item number 8, we did determine, decide that we're going to have our annual town meeting on June 1st. However, according to our bylaws, I believe, the meeting is supposed to be held in May, so we need to make an official vote to postpone the annual town meeting until June 1st. So it's more just a technicality to get this done, so I'll entertain a motion to postpone the annual town meeting from the month of May to June 1st.
So moved.
I'll
Yes.
second.
Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right. And also, just to make things official, we need to open the warrant for the annual town meeting. So again, annual town meeting is June 1st, and we need to let folks know that the warrant is open for any warrant items that may need to be presented, whether that's from boards, other boards, whatever. So I will entertain a motion to,
So moved.
okay, open the warrant.
Second.
All those in favor?
Discussion.
Yep,
Maureen, didn't that letter already go out to all the boards and committees?
It did.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so that's the letter letting them know that the warrant is open, correct?
And they have till March,
March
Ninth.
9th.
Yeah.
So that's a good date to get out, March 9th at 4 PM. Agenda item number 10 is the town clerk has requested that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the warrant for the presidential primary to be held on March 3rd, 2020.
so moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, got that done. Number 11 is, we had worked on this at the last meeting, and there was, one, I'm trying to find exactly where it was, where,
It was a language swap.
a language swap where, unless authorized in writing in advance by the town clerk, which is on page 2 at the bottom of the, what is going to be the new social media policy, because the town clerk is the one who is responsible for the town seal. We originally had the town administrator in there, but it's now been corrected to reflect town clerk. And then the other section was at the top of page 3. Instead of contacting the town clerk, it was supposed to be the town administrator. So those corrections have been made. So I will entertain a motion to finally pass this social media policy.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so, agenda item number 12, municipal notice from the Cannabis Control Commission regarding Northeast Alternatives, Inc., application for marijuana cultivation license. So, Northeast Alternatives is in compliance with the municipal bylaws and ordinances.
I think this just went to the planning board, didn't it? This past week?
They have, their site plan is under review by the planning board right now. They have
So-
not yet applied for special permit.
So we can't respond on this till we have that information, right?
Yep.
The vote would be if you would choose to take it pending the planning board's vote of accepting and granting a special permit.
If you read the Cannabis
Commissions.
Commission letter, if you don't respond, it's assuming that they're in compliance. So that's what you've done in the past. It's like this chicken and the egg thing. So if you don't respond, then
You're okay
they're
with it?
considered to be in compliance.
Yeah, and it says here, the letter that we received, it says, the commission is sending this notice to inform you of the completed adult use marijuana establishment application for the entity above. The applicant has indicated its intent to operate in your municipality. A copy of the exerted application is attached to this notice, so,
Madam Chair?
yep,
We do have 60 days to respond.
Right.
So we couldn't
Right.
wait for the planning board.
okay. And the commission requests that within 60 days of the state, confirms it. Or if we don't respond at all, then we're okay with it.
Right.
Okay, so, well, do we need to actually do anything right now with this?
So it came out on January 16th, so
Yep.
that's when the clock started.
Yep,
Even though we didn't receive it for another week after that. So that's when the clock started. We could table it to discuss at another, or if it expires and we do nothing, it gets accepted.
yep, I mean, it looks like, you know,
Well, I
Everybody's-
would like to see the conditions to the special permit when it's ready to go.
yeah. It looks like a couple of different people in town positions have responded, but can we just, how about we table it for next meeting? Will the planning board have had a chance?
It says it's under site plan review. It does not say what day.
What day, okay? Well, we will table and either get it on the next, depending on the planning board. But we do have this letter from them telling us that they've been,
Right, and I think, right, I think, Madam Chairman, the important part is to read Nate Darling's scenario on the back of
yep,
page 1 there, about that it makes no sense to require a special permit prior to receiving a provisional license. So,
yep,
Yep.
just so you know, that we've done this
before,
before.
yep,
You don't wait until, you generally don't wait until you see all that.
yep,
And I have an opinion from council
yep,
on it, and it says, as far as the certification goes, the CCC is looking for certification that the marijuana establishment is allowed in the proposed location under the zoning bylaw, i.e. the property is in the allowed district. They do not require a certification that the applicant has received the necessary local permits. So long as it is within the allowed district for marijuana cultivation, you can respond that the entity is in compliance.
Right, that's the important memo.
yep. they have their host community agreement with us and everything, right? Okay,
No, I just got it.
okay.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Agenda item number 13, firefighter Thomas Louise has submitted his letter of retirement effective January 31st, 2020. Tom has served as a firefighter in Lakeville for 31 years. Thank you so much for your service, Mr. Louise. So I'll entertain a motion to accept his letter of retirement.
So moved.
Okay, second, hold on. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Agenda item number 15. We have a request from the Lakeville Arts Council to hold the 2020 Annual Arts and Music Festival on October 3rd, 2020. October 3rd, Arts and Music at the Dickren Square and the Historic Townhouse and Grounds. They would like to use the sites from September 30th through the 8th to allow for setup and cleanup. Again, this is the Lakeville Arts Council. It's for their annual festival that they do. Anyone want to make that motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Other than I love to see that it's well attended. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now we have agenda item number 16. We have a request from the Open Space Committee to appoint Dr. Adam Young as an associate member. From the Open Space Chair on Jesse Medford, it says on January 8th, the Open Space Committee elected Dr. Adam Young as an associate member. I would like to request that the Board of Selectmen officially appoint him to this position. So we have currently the charge for the Open Space Committee calls for 7 members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, each for a 1-year term. The town clerk, he checked with the town clerk and, Tracy checked with the town clerk and she recommends that the board revise the current charge to include the appointment of an associate member. So I guess that's why we have this, correct, Tracy? Mm-hmm. So, entertain a motion to appoint Dr. Adam Young as an associate member.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
The charge would need to be revised first.
okay, that's what I kinda thought, all right, so, I'll entertain a motion to, change the charge to include the appointment of an associate member. 7 members.
Well, we need actually a modification to the charge before we can vote on it.
Yeah, so we have, so this 7 members is the way it currently is.
Yes.
So we have 7 members, so adding this associate member would be an 8th member, is that correct? Or am I missing something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have checked with the town clerk and she recommends that if an associate member is to be appointed, that the board revise the current charge to include the appointment of an associate member. The
So-
Open Space Committee,
The charge would read, the committee shall consist of 7 members and 1 associate member.
so total of 8 people. Is that correct?
Well, there'll be 8, yes, but there'll be 7 members and 1 associate member. There's a designation. Associate member's not a voting member.
Oh, okay, all right. So 7,
Wait.
I'm just kind of
Every
wondering why
time somebody
we're,
comes forward, we're
Yeah.
asking to have somebody appointed, we're gonna
yeah,
change the charge to an associate member. So
right,
if the next one comes through, we're gonna get another associate member.
okay,
Madam
so,
Chair?
yes.
I believe the thinking on this is that they're looking to have an associate member, so if someone resigns from the board, they'll have someone that's been familiar and attending all the meetings, and that way they could successfully move them into a full membership and have someone that's knowledgeable on the board.
Okay, which makes sense. However, I'm not so sure we should just kind of, it's like an associate member, but that appointment, that position doesn't even exist yet, because we haven't created it.
Correct.
So we have to change the whole charge.
Just to add those words, I can tell you that there are multiple boards and committees and commissions in towns that have associate members. The Council on Aging, the Zoning Board has 4. The Agricultural Commission has 2 associate members. So it is something that has been done to make sure that we could have someone that is knowledgeable step up into this position in case of a resignation.
Okay, so what we would have to do, though, is number 1, change the charge for the Open Space Committee, which calls for 7 members to be, 7 voting members, and change that to 7 voting members and 1 associate member, correct?
Right.
Does anyone want to make that motion? Okay, so how about we table this and we talk to the chair of the Open Space Committee. I mean, if there was a vacant seat, I would have no problem, you know, but we're changing the whole charge, so that's a little more involved for me. I would like to hear it from them, their justification.
I would like to see the charge the way it's supposed to be, not on the fly.
Right.
Okay, what is the charge supposed to be? If they want to recommend that we
Right.
change the charge and vote on the charge, that's okay.
Right, and I
But
would-
I'm not going to vote on something that I don't see
Yeah.
here in writing and just say, well, we're gonna change this line.
Right, I would rather them come to us and say, you know, this is the reason why we feel as though the charge should be changed. Originally, it was created for this reason, because there is reasons why they selected the number 7. So I'd like to hear from the actual Open Space Committee as to, that could very well be their, you know, wanting to have someone they can just slide into that position if someone leaves. But I think we'd like to hear from them. Yes.
And then the other thing would be, if you have an associate member and one of the members aren't there, does that associate member have
Voting
voting
right
right as a
that day.
regular member?
Yeah, so.
So I think we need
yeah.
clarification on that.
So it'd be nice, you know, I know Jesse will come in and talk to us, I'm sure, about that.
I'm not against it, I just.
Yeah, I'm not
you know,
against it
you
either,
know,
I'm
it's
just curious why all of a sudden, and you're right, I mean, if someone's absent, does that mean that person gets to just slide in?
Madam Chair, we
Yeah.
also wanted to discuss limiting associate members to not continue to make them grow. I believe the ZBA had 3 at one point
Right.
for associate
They
members.
have 4 now.
They have 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you know, again, when these charges are created, when these committees are created, there's a reason why they selected the number 7. I'd like to know, is that appropriate, not appropriate, does it fit the need anymore? You know, I'm sure this person, you know, would be a great addition, but I'd like to hear from them why they feel as though, and again, it could be something as having someone, but these are all valid points, so I'd really just like to call the open space folks and Jesse, and we can talk about it. Okay, so agenda item number 17 is to accept the resignation letter from Charlene Monteleone from the Council on Aging Board of Directors.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Back to that now, does that mean they will be bringing us, so that's a vacancy that will eventually have to be filled?
Madam Chair,
Yep.
they have an associate member that they are going to be recommending to be moved up into the full position.
Okay. Okay, number 18 is review and vote to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes as of August 26th, October 28th, and January 13th. So, John and I will do the minutes of August 26th and October 28th. You wanna make that?
Make a motion to accept.
I second that motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Are you
I have to
abstaining?
abstain, yeah.
Okay, Rich is abstaining. And then the minutes from January 13th. Motion to accept those.
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. New business. So just under, I'll start with new business before I get to Maureen or anyone else. The manager of the back nine has recently been married and has had a name change on the license. So just as, again, a formality, we need to do that. So I'll entertain a motion to change the name on the license from Rachel Rodericks to Rachel Brooks. And again, this is from the Back Nine Club.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
discussion, is the license in the folder?
Discussion, is the license this license?
No, because I didn't know what was
So
gonna
we're
happen.
gonna have to
so-
wait another meeting then.
Well, because we have to ratify it, right? Because it's,
You can ratify the vote at the other meeting, and then I'll just prepare the license.
okay, all right. So because this is brought up as new business, we need to post it actually on an agenda, and we will ratify that at the next meeting. But in the meantime, we can do some work on that. Anyone else for open, new business? I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Huh?
All those
You
in
need to
favor?
vote.
Oh, all those in favor, sorry. Aye.
Aye. We have people in the audience too. I don't know if they have something they want to discuss. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
No. We already did our public input section, but do you have something to contribute to that? Okay. All right. New business.
If no one else has any, today we got a letter from FEMA, the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Emergency Management Agency, recently completed a revision for the flood insurance study and the flood insurance rate map for Plymouth County. Although our community is unaffected by the update, it does lie on one or more of the revised map panels. Therefore, we have to update that, and we have to have that voted on at town meeting, so that will be upcoming. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that that will be one of the things that we will be voting on for town meeting.
And we will definitely have more information that goes along with that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. John, new business? Rich, new business? I don't have any other new business either. Tracy? Maureen? No?
I'm good.
Okay. Old business. I know Maureen gave us a little bit of a breakdown on the FY ~21 budget, saying that all but one department has submitted their preliminary.
Yeah, so I sat with Todd, our accountant, on last Thursday, and we made sure we were looking at the same numbers, and we input everything on one spreadsheet. We had a couple little quibbles between math on, and some definite issues with just discrepancies on formulas and stuff like that, but we've got it all in, with the exception of one department. And then the same with the capital plan, everything is in. It was vetted by the department heads again, the last staff meeting, and now that we have the cherry sheets, I'll be going ahead and entering all of our relevant information that we have in there, and we can start to come up with a budget.
For the budget, okay. And just on the budget, I would like to, I know Rich is working on our budget stuff. He's the point person, but I thought last year's schedule by which the Board of Selectmen met with all the department heads and the finance committee, I thought that schedule was pretty, because some departments are bigger than others, and I thought it worked out really well, not overloading any one night. We did have to add a couple of extra meetings, but I thought it was done really well, so if we can sort of mimic that same schedule, because sometimes we can, work through 3 or 4 of the smaller things, but someone like the fire chief, police chief,
Yep.
they need a little bit more time.
I will take a look and see how the last one went through as far as scheduling, and then I'll reach out through the finance committee, and we'll see if we can get some dates that work for everyone. And I think it was 3 different meetings,
Yeah, I
was it
think it
last
was
time?
all done over 3 meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can schedule that sometime
Okay.
mid-February possibly. I mean,
Yeah.
we're ahead of,
Yeah.
we're ahead of it a little bit
Yep.
this year. And again, like I said, for the, we'll get preliminary numbers from the school on February 6th after their February 5th meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody? No? Anybody in the crowd? Okay. On that note, unless I've missed something?
Other items, having to do with the South Coast Rail construction activity.
Yep.
There's a lot of activity that's gonna be going on at certain crossings and intersections and stuff like that. And I think we ought to, put that information on the website so people know that actually there's gonna be some roads that are gonna be closed. So, I think we need to get an update on that. I had given you a separate letter, Maureen, about that, or you gave it to me, and I suggested that we put that out on the website. Because the thing that's attached here doesn't list the dates, whereas the letter that,
They give a bulletin that would have the dates. We'll be able to
right.
post
so-
that as a link.
But they're already working on it, so we better get it out there soon.
Yep, we can do that.
Oh, actually, some of it's on the back here, so. Okay,
Post that link.
Yep. I mean, they have
Yeah.
been working steadily on a lot of the culverts and everything, but none of that's required road closures, so it would be nice if, as soon as we get that, to put that out there, so people will. There's a couple of notices you can get too, right from the state on any work they do. but-
They do, they send them out every couple weeks. Most of them aren't near us.
Near us, right,
But yeah, as a matter of public interest, I mean, we could just send it out as a link to people, or people can sign up on the Mass,
DOT.
the South Coast Rail website, and they'll send out links to you on your email. You'll get them directly. And we can put that up on our Facebook and our website, so people can access it and self-service it.
That sounds like the better
Yeah.
approach.
Yep. Okay, so if that is it, let's see, I will declare that we need to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, specifically the firefighters union, police union, laborers union. And I do declare that the open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board pursuant to Mass General Law 30A 21A to comply with the open meeting law. So I'll take a motion to go into executive session for all that.
And not come up. Yeah.
And not to come back to open meeting.
Not doing the minutes section.
You gotta.
You have to read that too. Yeah. There's still.
Did I miss that?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, executive session minutes from July 29th and October 23rd and November 12th. To discuss those in whatever. Sorry. Okay, motion on that? I make a motion.
so moved.
All those in favor, Fabian, aye.
Aye. What camera, aye?
How do we,
Okay. Thank you, everyone.